I live drawing, I breathe drawing, and I go home and I do drawing. My hobbies is art also, so it's like everything is just like art, give me art. If I'm not like drawing, like I am like looking at art.
Hey everyone, it's Samantha, and welcome back to another episode of Paths. Paths is a program of LGBT tech that is focused on visibility and inclusion of LGBTQ plus folks in STEAM. Paths podcast allows us to talk to professionals across the LGBTQ plus community in various STEAM fields and get to hear their stories, from their background to how they got to where they are, to their advice for others on how to get into their fields and industries. Everyone's paths vary, are unique, and are incredibly insightful. Before we jump into this month's episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to show your support and never miss another episode.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We love it. I love having you here, being able to talk to you. So just to give an introduction, could you give us your name, your pronouns, and how your friends would describe you?
My name is Dakshita Dehalwar, and but I usually go by Daki. I have all my friends usually call me Daki because I think Dakshita may be a little bit hard to pronounce because it's an Indian name, but my pronouns are she, her, and they is also okay if you don't know me. And I guess my friends usually describe me as, oh my gosh, I never asked them this. But I think they usually see me as a very bubbly and positive person. And my supervisor at work has told me that I'm a very like a go-getter who really just, goes and gets what she needs, gets it done.
That's really cool too.
Yeah.
Like, you put your mind to it and you're going to get it done regardless.
Exactly. Like I try to live up to that name, even though it is hard sometimes, so yeah.
Awesome. And then how do you identify within the LGBTQ plus community, as well as if there's any other identities that are important for you to share?
I identify as bisexual, actually, and I resonate with a lot of like queer stories in general. And I like by this time I've participated like 3 times in the New York City Pride Parade. Actually, I saw you there too this year. It was great. But in that community, in the LGBTQIA plus community, I identify specifically as bisexual.
Awesome. And is there any other identity that is important for you to know?
I mean, obviously, I'm Indian. I'm a person of color in that sense. But I guess in the Indian context too, I'm a Dalit, which is if you say the Hindu caste system, it is like the very bottom, and beneath that there's the Dalits, and they're, how do I say it? Not to get political, but like that's important because I feel like the Dalit queer community in India is not represented enough. And I just feel like globally, like, yeah, I can say I'm Indian, but I'm also Dalit, and I wanna shine light on that, even though I don't fully believe like in the caste system, but yeah, that is another part of my identity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit too about what you do professionally and how you would describe that to someone who's never heard of it before?
Well, I'm a concept artist, or I guess these days I've been calling myself a concept painter. You can also call me an illustrator and Vis-Dev artist. So to describe all of those things specifically, because I think I'm a very versatile artist, I would say let's start with concept art. Which is how I met you, because I went to the Game Developers conference to, make connections there. But a concept artist specifically for video games, movies, and film is someone who like works in the pre-production stage of this media. And I help visualize what the film directors or like art directors need in order to like create this specific thing. So as an example, I'll say maybe these art directors want to visualize what does this area look like without actually, I don't know, like you may have reference pictures, but you want to create something completely original, right? Yeah. So they would come to me and be like, oh, we want to make this set and it's like a American 70s diner or something like that. Yeah. And I would draw that out for them to visualize, and from there they would move it along the production line and it'll become like a set and everything. And this is in the film context, and for like video games it's similar, but then it would become 3D instead of like in a physical set. So that's kind of how concept art works. Vis-Dev is similar to that, but Vis-Dev helps like the art directors get a feel of the of the media that they're trying to portray. Like maybe I'll do like a concept painting of okay, make this scene, like this narrative scene, and I'll be like, oh, this is how I think it should look like. And as for like Illustrator, I feel like Illustrator is a pretty general term, and I think it encompasses all of that. As an illustrator, I would, love to illustrate like books, scenes from books, and just like even like draw my own original art and put that out into the world. But illustration is basically, I don't fully know how to describe it, but it's something, there's book cover illustrator, children book illustrators, there's obviously like album artists, poster artists, and there's just so many people that encompass that title. So that's how I would describe what I do.
Is there any of those that you find like more inclination towards one or the other? Like if you're in an ideal world, like that would be your favorite thing to do?
Oh my gosh, I think if anything, I just want to be just an artist. I just want to explore like everything, because professionally, I've already told you what I am, but really, I want to do a little bit of everything. Like I have interest in like ceramics, like I want to do some pottery. Maybe I want to make stuff with like, I don't know, just like I like photography too. So I just want to be an artist. In an ideal world, I don't want to worry about how to earn money. I just want to make art, and maybe people can see it, but it's just I want to do art for self-indulgence without worrying about like, oh, how am I going to survive the next day, you know? So that's my ideal world.
Awesome. And then could you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you're living now, and what community looked like for you in both of those spaces?
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in India actually for most of my life, and it was all I'd known for a very long time, since I was 12 actually, and then I moved to Australia, and then that environment looked very different. I feel like the Indian environment is a lot more like conservative. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get talked about, especially like the LGBTQIA community. I honestly hadn't even heard about it. I was never averse to it. Like I just didn't have a name for it, because I feel like, now this is something I found out way later on, is that in Hinduism specifically, we have had deep ties to, sexuality and gender and all of that. I mean, it's written in our history, but I feel like India itself is trying to like stifle that kind of, because of colonialism, it has kind of become like a taboo topic, and India or like Hinduism has adopted a more conservative front where it was never that.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally, in my own state, we have a temple depicting like people having sex. I mean, gay men, and then lesbian women, and then a threesome, and it's like, oh, like this is our history. Why are you changing that? It's like, it's beautiful, it's vibrant, but then the conservatism part of it comes in, and that's what India is today. And I just feel like so sad, because I'm like, I feel like we could be so much more, but that is unfortunately the environment I grew up in. So when I went to Australia, I feel like I became a little more like, open-minded, and I learned about like the more specific terms, like, lesbians and gays and, bisexuals and all of that. My mind like really shifted when I went there, but I wouldn't call it like, oh my God, I got like westernized. I feel like it was already in me. I just feel like as a child, I just wasn't taught that this is wrong or something, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of indoctrinated into that thinking, and they're like, oh, that's why conservatism. Anyway, the environment in Australia really helped me just grow up and develop more as a person. But then unfortunately I had to come back to India, and the scene was totally different again, and I had to get adapted to like, all of that. But I think India today is a little like, especially the young people my age, are definitely more progressive, I would say, which is a very good direction they're heading into. And now that I have graduated college, I came to New York for college, actually. So I went to School of Visual Arts, and well, firstly, I came here for art school, and I came here like all by myself. So I was 19 without my parents. I showed up to New York, and I was so scared because I'd never been, underneath that umbrella, like, that my parents had for me, I guess. Now I was like all alone and I had to figure things out. New York really helped me gain my independence and helped me see the place that I have in the world. So I would say India for me is definitely my home that I want to change for the better. Australia changed me for the better and helped me see the world in a more different way. And New York, I would say, definitely just helped push my identity forward and solidified who I am and what I want to be. And just like gave me so many challenges that I wanted to break, like so bad. But here I am, and I think I'm doing all right.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like kind of crazy how you've gone from like one place to another and like experienced so many different facets of yourself as well. Like I think regardless of where you travel, like as an immigrant, you learn more about yourself in new spaces because you're kind of forced to.
Yeah.
It's like it forces you to face different types of people and experiences that you might not have experienced before and seeing how you would react in those and how you would grow in those. And it eventually evolves who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a really, really interesting evolution for me because I feel like I was kind of a horrible kid, but then I got humbled when I went to Australia and got a totally different environment. And then now I'm in New York and I got humbled again. And yeah, I think I'm on the right track though. I think ultimately I just want to be a kind person who wants to help the world be a better place. If not with my art, then with other things for sure.
Of course.
I gotta be successful first though, so there's that.
Awesome. And then did you have access to any like queer spaces or community growing up, and what did those look like for you?
I think I didn't even know I was bisexual until like maybe like 8th or 9th grade. I never really thought about it. Even though like my first kiss was a girl, I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, there's nothing gay happening in here. Like I have a boyfriend. Like what do you mean, girl? Like your first kiss was literally a girl. Like what do you mean? But I didn't really have any like queer spaces growing up. That's why I'm saying like the India is super, I guess, conservative in that manner, and like these things don't get talked about or get shown in media. Like I didn't even know, this was a thing. And then in Australia, I got like more awareness and all of that. And I'm like, okay, but I don't think I fully identified myself as part of the queer community until I came to New York because it's just so like vibrant here, with life, with love, and just I guess the queer community. And I feel like my school, who has so many queer people, really helped me see that, I'm just like them, So I would say like definitely New York, I really found that community and just helped me feel so confident because I feel like all of my friends here they're all queer people and queer people of color. So, I feel like I belong more than ever.
So switching over a little bit back more into STEAM and your field, what do you remember was the like first spark and interest in you getting into art?
Ooh, yeah. Actually, I've always drawn since I was young, but at some point, like that kind of changed, and I thought that it was a really unrealistic career choice to take because I don't know. I feel like I never really saw anyone be an artist growing up. Because again, I'm from India, and it helped shape my identity a lot. People were either engineers, doctors, or lawyers there. The usual, the usual trio of a brown family. And my dad himself is a computer science engineer. Most of my extended family consists of doctors, engineers. Surprisingly, no lawyers, but my sister is changing that, so that's great. Yeah, but that's why I just like put it on like the back burner. I'm just like, art is just like meant to be a hobby, like nothing more, even though I liked it. But then again, I went to Australia and they were taking these art classes really seriously, which I feel like I had never experienced in India before, because in India, art was just like it's just a thing, you just draw and you're good at it, that's great, but it's not really realistic to pursue that. But then I went to Australia and then this is really crazy. Okay, so what actually got me drawing seriously was fan art. It's because I became an anime fan. And my story is reversed than most anime fans because I started learning Japanese and then I became an anime fan, while other people usually become an anime fan and then start learning Japanese. So it's like, a bit of a switch up. But because of that, I'm just like, oh wait, I can draw. I can just draw my favorite characters for myself and put it as like a poster in my room. And then I realized like I wanted to do that, and I kept doing that. I'm like, oh, you can make this your life, you know, you can make this your career. Yeah, from then I was like, oh, I want to be an illustrator. So that was I think that's where it all started. So that was 8th grade, and that was like 9 years ago now. Crazy.
And then I guess kind of following that, do you think you starting in like anime fan art has evolved, like has affected who you are as an artist now, and like how, like is it still similar in any aspects of that?
Oh gosh, it's not at all similar. I feel like the art style I started off with, it was very anime. This is something I've heard in the art community too, that like the people who start like with drawing anime like go into like realism like later on, versus the people who start into realism like go more into like anime later on, and it's like crazy. So I've definitely like shifted away from that, but obviously like I feel like those stories like live with me. And the fact that I started off with that medium, and you know, of course, you know, started off with anime, and then, you know, obviously I got super duper into like video games, like the console ones. But before that, I obviously played Flash games. I think we all played some Flash games. Yeah, I think that medium itself just really fascinates me, and I want to tell stories, and I feel like that's one way of telling stories. So I think I've definitely evolved out of the, oh my gosh, I just want to do anime fan art. I want to do now my own thing. Yeah.
100%.
So,
and I know you mentioned like a lot of your interest is in gaming and film and different types of media. And how would you say, and that's something that we get asked a lot too when we do STEM, we do STEAM instead of STEM, because we see the value of tech and technology in the art field and how art is also technical. So I guess in your perspective and in your experience, how do you think technology has affected your art and art as a field?
the main answer that comes to mind is the fact that I'm a digital artist. And in this day and age, that does not mean AI artist. I just want to make that clear. I'm very anti-AI. But I mean digital artists in the sense that I use digital drawing or photography or programs as a method or like a medium to draw with, I guess. So that means, you know, I was drawing on Photoshop for a while, you know, and I think I started my digital art journey like 7 years ago. But that is the main way technology comes to mind. So my dad is a computer science engineer. I mentioned that already. So obviously I grew up with like technology around the house always. And I feel like I've always been pretty tech savvy. When I like discovered, you know, my love for art and everything, and I'm like, oh, I want to do illustration. I obviously wanted to get like a digital art tablet. So I got my first digital art tablet, like I think in grade 8 when I was, and it was a secondhand one. I still have it back at home. It works great. It was like a Wacom Intuos. God, I don't remember the other model name, but it was a Wacom Intuos, an old one. And I started my digital art journey with that. Obviously, like my dad wasn't gonna buy me a paid art program, so I had to use one of the free ones. Medibang Paint, shout out to you for pulling me through the hard times, you know? So that's how I started my digital art journey, and like slowly but surely it started to like evolve. And then, you know, I ended up getting an iPad in like 2020, and which I brought today with me actually to show you some of my old stuff. And yeah, I realized I drew so much back in those days. I feel like I don't draw enough now. But anyway, that's a point for another time. But now I've moved on, and obviously my tech has evolved to now being a full screen tablet, a screen drawing tablet, 16-inch Wacom Intuos, Cintiq 16 actually, and I just draw that, and that's kind of like the industry standard right now, like professionally. So I was really lucky to get that. Yeah, but otherwise, like other tech-wise, if we're not talking physical, like program-wise, I know how to use a bunch of drawing programs. But if we're talking not hardware, not program, I would say I'm not very good at like the more technical or like coding and all of that stuff. I cannot do, which is crazy because I'm tech savvy, but I'm also like, I grew up with my father being a computer science professor.
I feel like those are also like very different skills too.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And then for someone who is listening or in the community that says, I want to do what you're doing, what would you tell them, or what either what skills or what advice, or where would they be able to start to pursue this?
Okay, that's like, there's a few things I'm pursuing. I feel like firstly, they need to really have like the love for it, because these days I don't know if I can even recommend going to art schools, because there's so many like alternatives from from like alternatives of art schools that you can go to, which are cheaper to just like get on, start learning. I'm saying this only because art schools are just getting like way too expensive. It's getting out of hand. Like, I think we need to bring back, but if they really want to start doing what I am doing, I think they need to really polish up on their fundamentals if we're talking like very, very deep.
Yeah.
And I think they shouldn't worry about having the tech that I have, but I think even having a cheap graphic tablet that I like use to start out is a very good thing to just, get you going. I feel like you need to have the creativity for it, but actually I think creativity can also be built up. You need to first have the passion, the ideas that you want to make this, you want to make this story, or you want to, create these characters, you want to show people your world. I think you really need to have that in you, because I see a lot of people just say that they want to work in the industry without actually having so much passion for telling their own stories. But I think having the passion for telling your own stories definitely helps
100%.
a lot. Actually, it helps a lot. Yeah,
Of course. Have you felt comfortable being out in your workspaces or in your school spaces as a member of the community and in your field?
oh yeah, 100%. I would say, I think as most of us queer people with people, brown families, or, just obviously haven't told my parents, but maybe I will indirectly, because I think they're probably know a little bit. They're getting hints. I'm giving them hints anyway. But I'm not out to them, but I'm definitely out to like all my friends. And of course, like I said, this New York is really the place which helped me really be who I am and be myself. So I'm definitely pretty comfortable being out. I obviously let anyone I meet know that, but yeah, not that I'm like romantically interested in them or they need to know that, but it's like, oh, it's just nice, like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual. So I'm like, but even without like saying that, which I'm not obligated to, is I'm pretty comfortable being out. I think especially in New York. But if I were to like go back to India, that would be a little bit like, I'll have to decide how the scene is looking. Because if they're like more conservative people, I'll be like, I don't want to cause any trouble for myself, and I'll openly say it out. So yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's always important, ultimately, is to feel safe enough, and like taking away that pressure as a queer person, that having to keep coming out or saying it when you want to and when you feel safe enough to do so as well. And hopefully things will evolve enough where it's not necessary to come out, but in the meantime, it's as long as you're feeling safe, like that's the ideal.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to be safe for to be bisexual.
100%. And then based on your personal experiences, do you feel like STEAM and STEAM fields pose barriers, especially to like either marginalized or underserved populations?
Firstly, I just want to say, I think we live in a very patriarchal world. So I think that itself is a barrier of entry, because I feel like anything a man says goes usually. And I feel like these fields are mostly open to cishet men. Yeah. So that means a lot of people, like the trans community, I think, the gays, the lesbians, all the queer communities, I feel like there's just not enough representation in those fields, even if there are so many people passionate about them. So I 100% think that there is a barrier of entry. I think it is being dismantled little by little, but the progress is really slow, because I feel like it is also necessary to have DEI in your workplaces for exactly that reason. So you're not just hiring cishet men, to run the place. You are hiring diverse, not just people of color, queer people, and just so it can just, I don't know, like I feel like you need diverse voices to make a better work, better workplace, better things, Yeah. So that's how I feel. But there definitely is not enough people in those fields, because I think I've kind of felt it. So
it's unfortunate that you're feeling it too, and like that you've personally experienced that, like kind of like line being drawn in the sand for you.
Yeah. No, like 100%. Okay, again, I have to clarify. I think it's less in art fields, art jobs, because I feel like naturally artists are very like nerdy, very like, you know, out there, very open, very little like quirky in a way. So I think it's less judgmental or less the barrier is definitely like there's no barrier, or there's like very less barrier in the art community specifically. But in other fields, specifically more towards STEM, I would say there's more barriers.
Can you tell us a little bit about a project that you've loved working on and why?
Oh my god, the project that I've loved working on was my senior thesis. So that was my final thesis, or like not final thesis, but like my very final project that I did for art school. So in my senior year, and it is a story I worked on for 10 months, which is I started working on it before like the final year even started. So I started in the summer by drafting out a story, and I like, you know, thought about how these characters would look, how would their word look, and I just kind of like dove right in and figured out a lot of my mistakes while I was like working through it, which some of the pieces I would like to like show. And you can find some on my Instagram too, obviously, because I've started posting them. But that was the project that I've had the most fun working on, because that has been my biggest project so far, and it's not ended yet. It's actually like continuing. So to give you a brief idea of what it is that I worked on for my senior year, it was actually it is a Hindu fantasy story, which I feel is just, fantasy has been a very Eurocentric genre for a really long time, and I really want to change that, because I know my people are interested, and I will give them give them what they want, you know, like I have to. But not only that, not just that it's a Hindu fantasy story, it is also a queer story with two lesbian girls who would eventually love each other, because I love romance and I'm gonna make it happen. So that's kind of like the gist of the vibes we're going for. So I'm gonna have like more like third gender, like the hijras, you know, those have a huge and a very rich history. But like after colonization, the hijras became like criminalized so because of the British, obviously. But you know, I want to add like characters who identify as, you know, transgender, who are also like gender fluid, you know, asexual, or like, how do I say, non-binary. I want to add all the spectrum of like characters and identities, awesome, into my project.
I love that.
I want to like definitely show you like more graphics later to like explain it to you, but I am not the person to write two-dimensional characters. I really like writing like three-dimensional, fully fleshed out characters. So everything that has gone into this project is a labor of love. I think each piece has taken me like 40 hours to do. 40 hours or more, especially because I was really ruthless on how I did those pieces specifically, because sometimes when I wouldn't even like you know, how it was turning out, I would scrap the whole thing, even if I was like 20 hours of work into it. I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I have to make something I like, or if I don't like it, I'm gonna scrap it. Because it's better to just like not waste any more time working on a piece I don't like, and then just restart on a piece that, you know, I would eventually like, you know, so
100%.
That's how I feel.
Awesome. And then what are some professional and personal goals you want to achieve?
Oh my gosh, some professional goals I want to achieve is actually like get work in the industry, because of AI. It has gotten so bad and so hard to get any work in the industry, and people are like, no, AI is not stealing away artists' job. Okay, shut up. It is actually stealing artists' work. So it's stealing artists' work, it's stealing artists' livelihoods, it's stealing their life, because the artists' lives are their art styles. They've lived, they've bled, they've cried building that up, and you're just taking it away without any feeling or emotion. That's why I don't think AI art or AI image generation is how I call it should be supported. So I want actual like work in the industry firstly. So that is a professional goal of mine. A personal goal of mine is I want to just continue expanding this Hindu fantasy world that I told you about, and hopefully build a following that way of people who want to see that kind of work, because nothing would make me more happy than the people who actually love my work and be like, I want to see more of this, like give us more, feed us more. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Awesome. And then outside of work, what are some things that you love to do and any hobbies that you may have?
Oh my god, all I do is like draw. That's all. Like I live drawing, I breathe drawing, and I go home and I do drawing. My hobbies is art also. So it's like everything is just like art, give me art. If I'm not like drawing, like I am like looking at art, right? Like, or I'm talking about art. And I feel like to me, art constitutes like so many things. It just doesn't just mean like, paintings in like museums, paintings like online. It means like video games, I feel also is a medium of art. And I'm obviously always interacting with it. I'm like watching YouTube videos about art also, and like people explaining like movies. I'm watching video essays while drawing art. And it's just, I feel like my life is just so full of color and love that way. And I'm pretty content with it. I wake up, I just do art, and that's my life. So I think outside of work, I still do art.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm not doing art, I'm like playing games. But these days I've been like feeling really guilty playing games because I'm like, I should do art. I should do art. What are you doing? So yeah, I think that's what I would say is my hobbies. Oh, actually, I also got recently into like tarot reading, so that's fun. Yeah.
I feel like that's just my nerdy part of art is one of my favorite things to do is my friends also like to do tarot reading is seeing the art style of the tarot cards because they like vary so much too. There's some that are so creative that I'm like, I would want it just because of the art style on it.
Oh my god, I have to show you the one that I got. It's beautiful. It's like holographic, and I'm like, oh, I love the sparkle. I had to get it.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And then, based on where you are now, what advice would you give your younger self or any other young queer person as well that is maybe hearing this interview now?
I feel like my younger self didn't really care so much about these things. I feel like when I was younger, I didn't have as many cares in the world, I would say, because maybe I was more like ignorant of that stuff, and I used to live in my own world. But obviously I grew up and I care about so many things. I care about the things happening in the world. I care about, how my friends are doing, how my family is doing. And yeah, I feel like I just care so much about everything now. And I feel like my younger self should be, it also depends how young we're talking, because I feel like don't waste your time on any boy or man. Firstly, never, I think that's like the main thing, because it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. And that I think you will find your identity eventually, and that your dad will eventually let you pursue the path that you wanted to go on. So I would tell her that, because my dad would not let me go like on the path of like art, but then I really like proved myself, I guess. And and he was like, okay, she can draw. I think she should go in this field. So yeah, awesome. I think those reassurances maybe. Yeah.
Cool. Now that you mentioned your Instagram and that housing a lot of your art. Where else can listeners find you? And if you wanted to plug anything, like, again, you want to plug your art, if you have a website, whatever that may be.
Yes, you can find me at Rani Daki Studios. That's RANIIDAKI and Studios. So STUDIOS. And I think Instagram is mainly the only social media app that I'm on right now. But I'm hoping in like a year I can launch a Patreon or so. So follow me on Instagram if anything, and it'll happen. But other than that, I guess you can also check out my website. It's at Daki, which is HIDAKI .univer.se.
Hey, you! Yes, you! Thank you for listening to this episode of Paths from LGBT Tech. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to never miss another episode. Show your support and allow us to keep sharing these stories. Didn't get enough? Check out past interviews to hear from more amazing career professionals in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. See you next time.